Transportation Committee report. Council recommendations from this meeting. Chief James.
If I can, a couple things. Item number 4 on the agenda is headed as approve the following zones adjacent to the Emeryville station with several bullet points after that. The very last bullet point is actually a separate item, and that was, did not go to the Emery station. That was actually in next to Expressions driveway. So that, the committee voted or recommended to approve that, though that item also. But with that, there's 5 items for council action. Items 3, 4, and 5 had consensus among the committee to recommend approval. And items 1, 2, and 3, there was conflict amongst the committee, and they asked that the council consider it at large.
What is the pleasure of the, I would like to make a comment about the Transportation Committee. This requires the involvement of numerous staff members. And how long are your committee meetings, Ken? 4 hours?
3 hours.
3 hours? And week after, meeting after meeting, we have recommendations brought forward to this that seem to have no resolution. It appears to me that we have a dysfunctional committee, and I would like to bring this to the attention of the entire council in view of the fact that we will be appointing new committee members, probably, when is that, Karen, December?
January.
And I would like all members of the council to consider a change in the Transportation Committee. What is the pleasure of the council in these items?
I think we need to kind of go through them one by one. I'm okay on some and not on others, so if we could maybe take them as they're numbered.
Number 1.
Item number 1 was a recommendation to permit a left-hand turn from southbound San Pablo Avenue into either the Oaks Club parking lot on the east side of San Pablo Avenue, or a U-turn that would permit entrance into the Bank of America parking lot. The committee was in disagreement. Councilmember Bukowski supported the idea. Councilmember Fricke did not.
I have a question. So I make the left turn going northbound San Pablo to go west on Park a lot. And so this would be the traffic facing me when I do that.
Yes.
I see people making a left turn into the lot a whole bunch. Is that?
And U-turn.
That's not allowed there? I mean, you could be cited for doing that?
It's not legal right now.
I personally, in looking at it, it is not illegal. There is a sign that is further south that governs 41st Street that advises no left or U-turn. But unless it's prohibited by sign, the turn's a legal turn.
So we don't need to change anything to allow people to make a left turn there, but we would have to put a sign up to make a U-turn?
I believe unless it's prohibited by sign also, that it's authorized.
So you're saying this is currently a legal movement?
Yes.
Of course it is. It's a non-issue. This is exactly why we want to consider what you guys are doing on the Transportation Committee.
So we can
Let's
drop.
move along to number 2.
Okay.
Consider the following 2 proposals. Place a stop sign at the intersection of Park and Watts and convert the diagonal parking east to the Pixar driveway on Park Avenue to parallel parking, creating a red zone. Was this at the request of Pixar?
Yes, Pixar had made a request for a stop sign. Their concern was that their employees leaving the parking lot due to the diagonal parking, their sight lines were blocked by the diagonal parking. The committee discussed the item, and one solution, not the stop sign, would be to eliminate some of the diagonal parking to improve the sight lines. So it would.
I don't support the installation of a stop sign there, because I think it sets a bad precedent to put stop signs at driveways.
Well, if I can, the development agreement, Charlie?
Actually the environmental document.
for the Pixar expansion requires that Pixar place that stop sign at that intersection prior to taking out the building permit for their expansion.
It's just a safer move to do that. anyway.
I would support it, Ken, because coming out of that driveway, it is very difficult. Get rid of those diagonal parking, and what's the harm to put a stop sign in there?
Well, okay, so if I could, Mayor, I think, I know that it's, I remember that it was in the development agreement someplace, and we're not at that stage yet, right?
Well, we will be within the next year or two.
Okay, so what I'm thinking in the meantime is John's suggestion of getting rid of the immediate cars that create the sightline problems makes sense for the next couple of years, because it really does cause people to have to stop that are on Park when nobody's coming out of Pixar. So I think if we can just make it safe for them to come out in the street, which I think the sightline stuff does, then when they're ready to expand and they're going to have more people, then we can add the stop sign at that time. But I think it's premature to do it now, because I don't see a value in stopping traffic when nobody's coming out of there.
And where do
I
you stand on
agree.
this, John?
I think that in general, design is a better way to solve problems than by regulating. And a stop sign is just regulation, so I don't think that that's a good solution. I would prefer to convert the diagonal parking to parallel parking.
Just for the sightline spots.
Well, I mean, I think that it's necessary for all of Park, because I
Right.
think that Park is dangerous for bikes, but this is, this is a section from the Pixar driveway east to essentially the Andante driveway.
I just don't see any harm in putting a stop sign there. It's just going to be safer for everybody.
Well, I don't think we have support for the stop sign, but I do think we have support for eliminating the diagonal
Okay.
spaces.
But
Well, if I can clarify, we need to eliminate the diagonal spaces east of Watt Street or east of the driveway in order to get the sightlines to work out, but we wouldn't necessarily need to remove all the diagonal spaces
Oh, no.
west.
No, no,
So-
no, just
all right.
Just
what we need.
Just enough in either
Alright.
direction, and those will get converted to parallel, so
Okay.
we'll still have parking, right?
All
Okay.
right, moving along to considering the recommendation from the Bike Ped Committee to add to the Nelson Nygaard study the potential uses of bicycle pedestrian crossing over I-80. What did the Transportation Committee do with that?
Well, I didn't see any problem with adding it, and John didn't want to add it, so.
The thing about it is that the description that you just read, Nora, doesn't really provide you the detail that is being sought. What is being sought is to have our consultants spend time exploring a bridge across the eastbound off-ramp at Powell Street. That's what this is about.
No. The Bike
No,
Ped
I'm not-
Committee
I'm
lost
not-
their heads.
No, I'm not on that, I'm on that committee. I think,
No.
what we're looking at, I think, is,
Ruth, I don't know if you're talking in your microphone or not, it seems way over
I
the
think
side.
I think what we're looking at is in the neighborhood of 65th Street. So, and that's what the committee's interested in looking at.
What Peter Schultz Allen who staffs the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee, said that this was, they wanted to explore this in addition to and possibly replacing the 65th Street Bridge. According to Peter Schultz Allen, the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee felt that that even the 65th Street Bridge would not draw away the usage, and that the bicyclists and pedestrians would still go to Powell and IS-80 to cross under IS-80, and therefore they wanted it studied as to how to safely do that.
Well, Peter's correct in that the conversation centered on the fact that Powell Street reflects more of where the population in Emeryville is centered and where the usage would be. So we did have some discussion about that, but we also talked about how to make, how to implement the traffic safety center's recommendations for that area and moving ahead with improving the safety that way. So unless I'm apparently missing something here, because I was at that discussion. I don't think anybody was serious about a bridge over I-80 at Powell Street.
No,
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be so high, and you'd have to start it
Yeah,
back
no.
at
all right,
the, at,
okay,
mentioned this.
so we just,
I mentioned this at the Transportation Committee.
Yeah.
I said just exactly what I said, and Peter was there, and he did not say, Fricky, you're wrong. He did not contradict me.
all right, shall
So-
we just move past
well,
this?
why don't we just vote,
Let's drop
vote no
this.
to
No,
do
all right,
that?
no.
Yeah, and that way,
All right,
I mean, it sounds like all of us agree with that, right?
the two Emeryville bus stops.
Yeah, there was no
Move approval.
second.
Second, third.
I approve that, all right.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, how about the Emery Station East building, all these,
I would move all of those, except for,
Alright.
except for the one that the chief pointed out belongs as a separate number 5.
okay, and would you also go along with number 5?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, do we have everybody agreeing?
Yeah.
with-
Wait, I had some
There's no
I had some
disagreement on five,
questions.
so-
I'm just gonna, hold on a second here. Because they're asking for a lot here. I just wanted to,
The only question I had, Chief, is on the very last dot now that goes with 4. I didn't see that on the colored map.
No, that was one that the Transportation Committee added.
Okay.
And let me say about this, is that this is just for the interim period. We know that adjustments may be necessary, but this is just to get this started. We're not sure exactly
All
how
right,
it's going to
but
go.
without exception, this is.
I'm going to accept on the 176-foot red zone just prior to the dedicated right turn lane at the gas station. I think that's too long.
Okay, so I'll change my motion to include all items except that one. We can vote on that separately?
Yeah, let me just explain what Ruth just mentioned. The reason that it's 176 feet and not shorter is, and this was specifically discussed at the committee, is that the desire is for cars not to be parked in front of the water element so that people on the other side of the street can see it. That was the rationale.
Wait, but that 176 thing isn't where the water element is.
I remember that discussion.
Yes,
But I
it
mean,
is.
as I look at the map, the 176 foot is on the east side of Hollis, clear down at the corner. That's not where the water element is it?
But it extends back to where the water element would be.
Oh,
That
yeah.
176 feet takes it back to where it would be in front of the water element.
Okay. How would we have to change that if we didn't block the water element? I think that's a good point.
Currently, there's 40 feet of red zone in front of the water element.
Oh, well,
There
that's,
is something fundamentally flawed about this process. This council is supposed to be setting policy, acting on policy, and we are getting down to the square feet.
Micromanaging, I know.
We are micromanaging. I'm serious about this council taking a look at the whole setup of the
I
transportation
agree with you
committee.
completely.
All right,
I have to say, though, that critique I do agree with, but I think that many of these committees that we have violate the same principle. For example, I got an email message for Information Technology Committee meeting, and I'm not going to go to that meeting because the agenda consists entirely of this nitty-gritty stuff. We're getting updated on what we have not accomplished.
all right, we got to take
So-
a hard look at the committee structure, but move along with this item here, Dick. You have a motion on the floor to
Well-
do what?
well, so the motion is to approve the items under number 4, except for the 176 foot.
I would second that. Is there any objection to that motion?
No.
Okay, and
All
then
right.
what do we have to, let's so take that one separately. What do we
This
need?
whole thing's going to come back in about 6 months, so
Yeah.
that's programmed into it, so.
There is a need for a portion of that 176 feet in front of the gas station, so
Yeah, no,
Are you-
no, I'm all for that, but how much would we need to clear the view? Are you saying that the way it is without the 170, with keeping the 176 red as it is now, that we'll have plenty of vision of the water feature?
what we're saying, everything from the water feature south would be red zone. And there's currently a couple of spaces being used south of the red zone that's in front of the water feature. So
So the reality is the green spaces are going to be blocking the water view, right? Because we're not blocking any spaces out directly in front of it.
You know, this whole thing came in with the developer, and we sat there and we reached agreement on all these points, so, you know.
No, I'm just trying to understand what we're voting on. Isn't it true that there are going to be green parking spaces directly in front of the water feature?
No, the proposal is to have red zone in front of the water feature, so you can see it as you drive
That's
by.
not on this map?
I believe the water feature is, if you look at this map, is circular area next to the
Is
one.
that far south?
I believe so, yes.
You know what? I'm sorry, but that water feature virtually divides the building in half.
No, no,
No,
no,
it
no, no,
doesn't.
no.
It doesn't?
No, 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 no,
Okay.
no.
Then I'm cool with approving the 176 feet, then I'll move
All
that.
right, I'll second that. Does everybody else approve the 176 except for Ruth?
Yeah, right.
All right, you got a 4-1.
And then I would move number 5.
I'll second number 5 without exception. Number 5 passes. Okay, consideration